Welcome to Crimewatch. We're live from Manchester for the first time, and as ever, we're waiting for your calls.
Hello, and as well as Greater Manchester detectives, there are officers here from across the UK, as always, from Plymouth, from Birmingham, from Newcastle, many other places to help us, to help them crack crime. First, though, think back to that huge heist back in Belfast just before Christmas. One of the biggest cash thefts ever, over £26 million, with suspicions pointing at the IRA. In fact, 3 days before that happened, there was an unconnected but strikingly similar robbery in Rusholme, 4 miles from where I'm standing.
Morning, you alright?
Oh, you alright?
How's it going? Yeah, fine, thanks. Sorry, I was running a bit late this morning.
Yeah, all set for Christmas?
Yeah, but thereabouts, not too bad.
Oh,
And you?
I've done nothing yet, I'm always last minute.
I'm not really bothered, are you? It's a long day, it's a long day. Well, that's not Derek's new car, is it?
But it's those builders who were here last week.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's not going to be happy if he can't park when he gets here. It's a bit tight for me, that, at the back.
Go on,
I haven't got as much room. Just check me going back.
Yeah, keep going.
Right, that's
Stay where you are!
What do you want,
You don't move! I said stay where you are!
Don't do what I say. We will kill the girl, and then we will finish you.
Get in the...
You walk with me to the door, no sudden movement. Open the door. You press the alarm, you know what will happen to the girl.
You alright, mate? I'm just doing some building work in here at the moment. I've left the charger for my drill inside. Is it alright if I just pop in and get it?
I'm afraid you'll have to wait until we've conducted this morning's checks.
Alright, no problem.
Move it. Don't look at me!
Okay.
Where's the money?
It's in the safe.
Give me the money.
Lie! Face down!
What are you going to do to me?
Just be quiet!
What do you want?
Keep quiet! Give me your hand! Give me your other hand! Put your hands together! Take these! Do you have a phone?
Get it right, or you know what will happen.
I'm trying. I can't remember the code.
Get it right!
I'm sorry.
Where's the money? Now!
Sorry, I'm trying. I promise.
What are you trying to do?
Ah! Please don't. I'm trying.
It's okay. It's okay. Calm down, all right? Do it properly, and your colleague won't get hurt, okay? Move.
Hey, it's open.
Put the money in the case, quick, quick.
We won't hurt you. Stand up. Get out back. Come over here. Quiet. Stay there and you'll be fine.
Will I be okay?
You'll be safe there. Don't move.
Yeah, right. DCI Phil Owen is in charge of the investigation. Big news this in Rusholme. It's been in the papers again tonight. Word is on the street this was an inside job. What do you reckon?
Yeah, our inquiries and investigations to date indicate that the offenders may well be local to the Manchester area. That's supported by where the van was parked, both at the back of the bank and the choice of their location behind the flats on Dickinson Road. So we're looking at the possibility it could be local.
So anybody who is local could earn a lot of money on this because there's a huge reward, £50,000.
£50,000. The bank are very determined to assist the police in the investigations, such as the gravity of this offence, that £50,000 has been offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those people responsible.
OK, well, let's see what they look like. And we showed one wearing this beard. I'm not sure if it was a false beard or whatever. Tell us about him, his physical description.
Yeah, the man who entered the bank, we've had an e-fit from the employee. He's fair-skinned, possibly Eastern European, mid-30s, 5'10". It's been described as wearing a beard, quite a thick beard. However, it may well be that he's done that to try and conceal his identity. So clearly he may have a beard or he may not.
It turns out, I think, from subsequent descriptions, that the guy's probably slightly taller than the actor that we cast, but he's stocky.
Yeah.
35, 37, something like that. OK, what about the other guy, the chap with the gun?
Yeah, the chap with the gun at the van. He's a black man, very dark complexion. He, again, is about 30 years old. Again, quite tall, about 5'10". Interestingly, the witness describes him as having a very broad shoulders. He's very muscular, so we'd be keen to put those two people together as accomplices.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't tell you who it is, but it tells you who is not that description. Put them together. Other witnesses? I mean, I didn't know. This is in Wilmslow Road in Rusholme.
Yeah, it's 9:30 on a Friday morning. Very
about
very
8
busy.
days for it was 8 days before Christmas.
Very busy. We're keen to speak to anyone in the area. Unfortunately, we haven't got any witnesses that see the individual leaving the bank, or no one seeing the individuals walking away from a burning van on Dickinson Road. So we're really keen if any viewers were there at either of those locations could possibly help us.
That white van, it said Rubon on the side. Where does that come from?
Well, we know the white van was purchased the previous day from a commercial van dealers over in Liverpool. The individual bought the van, and indeed a previous roofing company was called Trubond. The seller simply took off the T and the D, and you've got Rubon. So it's fairly distinctive, that particular van.
And the buyer? What do we know about the buyer?
Well, the buyer who travelled, we believe, over to Liverpool is a mixed race, in his early 20s, 5'8", and he's got black, wavy hair. And the witness did describe, the seller described him having a triangular face.
OK, so if you can help with any of those descriptions, if you can put them together, if you've heard anything on the street on this, there's a £50,000 reward. Remember, our number's always on the screen, and it's free to call, 0500 600 600. And there's an urgent speaker here in the studio too, if that's better than your English. There are more detectives waiting at the incident room. It's not a free call, but it's a local Manchester number. That's 0161 856 4481.
Also on tonight's programme, the child killer 20 years ago who thought he'd got away with it. Now it's a chance to catch him. The handbag snatcher who's being hunted as a killer. We're hunting for these wanted faces. We know who they are. All we need to know is where they are.
And who'd plan an armed robbery and make their getaway on this?
The New Year's got off to a great start with good progress on cases and convictions, so thanks to everyone who's called. In our last programme in December, we peeled about a rape in Harrow, North London.
What am I doing here?
I didn't see him walking up towards me. I just remember my phone being taken out of my hand.
Listen, I really need to go home now.
3 viewers called into Crimewatch and gave the same name. And what's more, the man they named phoned the incident room straight after the programme and arranged to go in for questioning. Forensic tests are being carried out, and meanwhile, he's continuing to help police with their inquiries.
Also in December, we showed the face of Peter Bastin, who was wanted for failing to report as part of the terms of his release from prison. A Crimewatch viewer called in with enough information to trace his address. Actually gone by the time the police got there, but soon afterwards, he handed himself in. He's now back in prison.
In November's programme, we featured the death of Charita Gates, who was crushed as she tried to prevent thieves stealing a lorry from her farm in Northolt, West London.
What's that? Have they broken the gates?
Well, I'm not having this. I'm waiting till they come back.
After the programme, a viewer called the studio, and as a direct result, a man's been charged with theft. Police inquiries into Charita's death are continuing, and they're still seeking the driver of the lorry.
Some convictions now. Peter Bellwood was wanted for stealing rare maps from the National Library of Wales in Aberystwyth. About 15 minutes after the reconstruction back in June, a viewer rang with an address, actually in Colchester in Essex. Peter Bellwood wasn't in, but with the heat on, he decided to hand himself in. He's been sentenced to 4.5 years.
Back last April, we appealed for information on a sex attack in Edinburgh.
Have you got the time?
Yeah, it's
I've got a knife.
One viewer was able to put all the clues together and came up with the name of Colin Dishart. He was arrested in August and pleaded guilty not just to this attack, but to many others too, and he'll be sentenced later this month.
Those are great results, and thank you very, very much indeed. It's, what, 9:10 now? We've got 40 lines open here in Manchester, dozens more in Glasgow. Here's your chance, then, to bring some more people to justice with DC Rav Wilding and DC Jackie Hames.
Time to spot some faces now. We've 6 to show you, all wanted for serious offences. In fact, Sabir Hussain is wanted by forces across the country. Detectives fear he may be working as a minicab driver and raping his passengers. Surrey police are after him for indecently assaulting a teenage girl 5 years ago. And my colleagues here in Manchester want him over the sex attack of a man in nearby Rochdale. He may use different names like Riyasat Ali. Sabir Hussain is in his late 40s, chubby, with greying hair and sometimes has a beard. Don't get into his car.
This is Duke Oliver von Mecklenburg-Schwerin, or that's what he'd like you to believe, a member of the German royal family, no less. But he's really plain Oliver Trusnak, and he's originally Belgian. He works in the antiques trade around London and the South East and is wanted for a number of high-value frauds. Trusnak is known to go to gay bars in Soho, often writing in advance to say that His Royal Highness will be attending. He's 30, smartly dressed, and speaks English with a slight Flemish accent. So if His Royal Highness has graced you with his presence recently, please let us know.
Stanley Davis is wanted for sexual offences against a child. He's been missing from his home in Brighton since October. He's 53, 5'7", with balding grey hair, and has several tattoos on his forearms, including a swallow and a snake. Stanley Davis is a heavy smoker, so tobacconists look out for him, and doctors and pharmacists too, as he has medication for sleep and heart problems.
Patrick Riley escaped last July while serving a 4-year sentence for burglary. He's 24, has an Irish accent and a barbed wire tattoo on the top of his left arm. Riley uses aliases like Patrick Jones and John Ward, and we think he may be in the Bristol or the Irish Republic. He's known to be violent, so keep away.
Nicky Nelson was charged with drugs and firearms offences but was given bail. Where is he now? He's 28, tall at 6'1", and when last seen has a goatee beard. He claims to be a graphics designer running his own company and likes to drive expensive cars. Do look out for him, especially in Edmonton or elsewhere in North London.
Dwayne Bray's wanted for an attempted murder after a shooting in Oldbury in the West Midlands on the 6th of January 2004. He's 26, 5'9", and has a Birmingham accent. Dwayne Bray has connections in Smethwick, West Bromwich and North Wales.
0500 600 600 if you can help with any of these cases.
We tend to feature very serious crimes on this programme, sometimes where extreme violence is used. But even a crime which may seem less serious, such as a handbag snatch, can have equally devastating consequences.
Well, we used to go on Friday night. Two of our friends were there before we arrived. The conversation would start off of whatever we'd been doing during the week. It was just general talk. When we went on holiday and we used to take our cameras with us, we'd take photographs. Each and every one of us used to bring the photographs in.
Now have a look at that. Now who's that? Oh, Brenda, how do I know? Oh, you were at school with her.
You're talking after 12 o'clock or just before 12 o'clock. Brenda and I used to leave the pub. So we did walk slowly along that road, so it took us about 10 minutes before we got to the end of the road where we used to stand then. and talked for about 20 minutes by the cottages on the forecourt of the garage. And then we used to just separate. She'd go across the forecourt and I'd go down Keybank Road home.
Once she'd left Beatty at the corner of the road, my mum tended to always keep to the left-hand side as she walked up. There was security lights there, so she felt safer.
Brenda went to a friend's house who took her home and then called the police.
I was saying, you know, you're okay, and her elbow was cut, and I think there was cuts to her arm as well. But it was her knee that was causing her the greatest amount of pain, and she was trying to disguise it as best she could, and she didn't want the doctor to be called. But then, really, as the hour went on, she was in a great deal of pain and discomfort, and in the end she agreed to. A sister came round and said, you know, we should really, if we could call the locum out, just to make sure to be on the safe side.
4 days after the attack, we had made another appointment at the hospital to go on the Tuesday. As we were leaving the hospital on the Tuesday, they'd given my mum a Zimmer frame to help get round on, which my mum said she didn't need anymore, that she would just be able to lean on me. As we were coming out of the hospital, we were just on our way to the car, and she said she didn't feel very well. And I just felt her, like, fall. I thought she'd fainted.
Mum? Mum?
My mum's absolutely fantastic. She just meant the world to us. You could always go to her if we had a problem, but it doesn't matter how big or how small.
She died in hospital because a blood clot travelled from her knee to her lungs.
Our whole lives have changed, really, every aspect of it. She was the biggest part of our family. She was the rock. Every day we just have to do as best we can for that day and take one day at a time, really. And just hope that we do her proud, really. Look after the children as best we can.
Well, it's now 2 years since Brenda died, but as you can see, the emotions of her 4 daughters and her husband are still very raw. And the community is still just as keen to solve the crime. There's a £10,000 reward. Detective Superintendent Brian McNeill is determined to solve the case. I mean, Brian, what chance is there 2 years on now that people will still have useful information for you?
I think there is a good chance now. I mean, since the actual incident occurred, there's a possibility that people may have talked. We've got the reward, as you said, £5,000 from the Liverpool Echo, £5,000 from this Crime Stoppers, and there's also obviously the conscience of the 2 men involved. It may be time for them now to come forward and explain what happened that night.
I guess it's always possible that either people's allegiances have shifted, their relationships have changed, they may have been involved with these people they are no longer and feel at last that they can talk to the police.
That's correct, yes. And there's obvious opportunity here for the second lad involved, who appears, from what we've seen and from what Brenda told us, not to being too much involved, but it's for him to come forward and tell us that, and we can only assess that when he comes forward and speaks to us.
I mean, I guess if he was not involved in the planning of this, if he was taken by surprise by this, if he wants to exonerate himself, now is the time to come forward and talk to you, isn't it?
That's right, and we aren't in a position to actually determine his level of involvement until he comes forward and tells us.
What about the man who took the bag? We saw him grappling there with Brenda. What do you know about him?
Yeah, well, both men are described by Brenda herself, because of course she gave us the statements on the night, as white lads in their 20s, slim build. The lad that actually took the bag from Brenda was wearing light-coloured trousers, a blue bomber-style jacket and a light-coloured woolen hat.
And you're pursuing a charge of manslaughter in this case. I mean, it is possible that the 2 men may not know that Brenda has died, and it's also possible that they wanted to take her bag, but they never intended to kill her.
That's true. I mean, there is a possibility that they don't know the actual result of what their actions, or the way their actions took them that night. But the reality is our investigation has established that the injuries that Brenda sustained that night led directly to the formation of the blood clots, which ultimately led to her death 3 days later.
So irrespective of the fact they're just trying to take her bag, that's what killed her?
They take responsibility for their actions, yes.
OK, well, help us to help Brenda's family in all of this. 0500 600 600 or the instant room in Liverpool on 0151 777 4568.
Alfie Blacker is 42. He's from the Govan area of Glasgow, but he used to live in Gorton here in Manchester. Then, 18 months ago, he vanished. Just before he disappeared, a young man called Shawn Edwards was stabbed to death. What happened that day has shattered two families, Shawn's girlfriend and her children, and Shawn's parents, Pamela and Norman.
On the morning that Shawn got killed, I found out I was pregnant with my little boy. Then I got a phone call at my sister's that Shawn had been stabbed. And just come running home, and that was it, really. The rest is a blur.
We was in the house a matter of 20 minutes. And Shawn said, I'll take baby to the shop. And he didn't get there.
It's only when I actually hit the hospital gates, as in going in there, that I really thought something was... not right. And when I went in, I knew straight away something was serious. The lady took me in the back and it all happened from there, you know. It just wasn't real, it just didn't seem real.
The whole thing started as an argument between some of the local kids. That argument developed into an argument between some adults, and Shawn became involved in arguing with another man. During that argument, Shawn was stabbed. And I would ask for anybody who knows where the person responsible for Shawn's death may be, or where he may be hiding, to actually come forward and provide that information to me.
It's like you're stuck in one big black hole and you can't get out. The kids still talk about him all the time.
I just wanted to tell him, but it was too late that you know, I was having his brother or sister, and I'd just seen him just before I got in the car to go to my sister's, and he was with Vicky and the little one. It was such a happy, happy moment, and then to find out 2 hours later, it just tore my world apart.
So why did Alfie Blacker disappear so suddenly? A lot of people in Gorton would like to know, and so would the police. So much so that there is a £5,000 reward just for picking up the phone and saying where he is, especially if you've seen him tonight. If he's back in Glasgow, well, you might have seen him at a Celtic match, and it's possible he's been in Dublin. 0500 600 600 if you can help, or the instant room in Manchester on 0161 856 4721.
Now, I've seen some getaway vehicles in my time, but nothing quite like this. It was used in an armed robbery near Newcastle on the 24th of November last year. At 4 p.m, a Securicor guard was delivering money to an ATM at Tesco when a man produced a gun and told him to hand over the cash box. The gunman ran off into the car park, and a witness heard him speaking on a mobile phone in a foreign language that they didn't recognise. It may have been East European. Earlier, another man wearing a distinctive helmet was fiddling with a moped, fixing its mirror. Shortly after the robbery, the camera spotted 2 men. One clearly has the cash box in the hand, and here comes the other on the moped. It was found just a mile away. It's a Y-Reg Aprilia 50cc, and it was stolen from Leicester at the end of October. We think it would have been taken to Newcastle in a van and not ridden there. So where was it for that month? Its registration number is Y467DRA. As I said, the rider's helmet is unusual. Do you know where it's from? The image of the gunman is less clear, but this is an EFIT. He's around 6 feet tall and between 35 and 45 years old. Do call us if you can help, 0500 600 600, or you can try the incident room in Newcastle on 0191 221 8555.
A cold case now. It's a gangland gun crime, but the victim wasn't in a gang. They shot him by mistake. 5 years ago, Gabriel Agaba was just 17 and cycling to his mother's house in Longsight, here in Manchester. Jean is Gabriel's mum, Lee's his brother, and Detective Superintendent John Kelly is leading the inquiry. Jean, tell us about the impact that this has had on you and the family.
It's devastating. Just ruined everybody's lives, really. Because he was just so young, he had everything to live for, you know.
You're just 17?
Just 17.
Tell us a little bit about him.
A very happy lad. You know, he had a lot of friends and that, and always outgoing. He used to like going training and stuff like that, and having a laugh, and just being Gabriel, really, you know, and it's just not the same without him. You know, we have to live like that every day now without him, and it's like a piece of a puzzle, like when you take a piece away, it's missing. You know what I mean? It's very hard. It's hard to explain unless you...
It's left a big hole in your family.
That's it, yeah. Very difficult for us all, really. All the family.
And Lee, he was your younger brother, wasn't he? What was he like?
Oh, he was, you know, very, very joyous lad. Just lit up the room, you know, with people around him, and he's, like I say, very strong in what he was always doing. You know, he liked various sports. He was, you know, keen on basketball.
And boxing, you used to do boxing together?
Yeah, we did, you know, did boxing for a while as well. So, like I say, very athletic person as well, you know, but like I say, he's always a person that always lit up the room with a smile, or, you know, always presence, always, you know, he always sort of made everyone happy, you know.
He's a good brother to have.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. You know, he's been truly missed. You know, something so sad. It was, you know, something you can't believe that, you know, happening to someone so dear to you.
And so young as well. I mean, he was only 17, John. Tell us what happened that night.
It's 12th of January 2000, just after the millennium. Gabriel was cycling to see Jean. He was on his way to see his mother along Coverdale Crescent in Longsight, him and a friend. A dark night, and he was overtaken by two men on a motorbike, some sort of motorcycle, and as the bike passed them, the pillion passenger started firing shots at Gabriel and his friend. One of the shots hit Gabriel and killed him almost instantly at the scene.
And you think this was a case of mistaken identity? He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Absolutely. That's the conclusion that we've come to. Gabriel was a perfectly innocent young lad who was doing nothing more than going to see his mother. He wasn't involved in any type of criminal activity. We're fairly convinced now that he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, it's 5 years ago now. What can you say to people to make them come and talk to you now after so much time has passed?
Well, even 5 years ago, we were satisfied that people knew what got on that night, and people had information which would help us bring Gabriel's killer to justice. We were satisfied about that then. What we're hoping now is that people's allegiances have changed, people's home circumstances have changed. Maybe they've moved city, maybe they've, you know, they're in different relationships. What we're looking for are for those people to come forward and talk to us now 5 years on, and phone us, and at least give Jean and Lee and the rest of the family some closure to this.
And John, this is part of Operation Excalibur, isn't it? Which is aiming at cutting gun crime here in Manchester. What kind of success have you had with that?
Well, it's aimed at investigating gun crime properly in a coordinated way, and also reducing gun crime. So far, we've had a 13% reduction year on year in the incidence of gun crime in Manchester as a result of Excalibur, and that makes the streets safer for everybody out there.
OK, well, if you're listening to this and you're hesitating about whether to call, just listen to this message Gabriel left Jean on New Year's Eve, just 12 days before he died.
Hello, Mum, it's me, Gabe. Yeah, happy millennium. I love you too much. Serious, Mum. I love you loads anyway. Have a good millennium. I know you're out now, but I love you to bits. I swear, Mum. I'll see you. I'll come round and see you tomorrow. I love you loads. See you later, Mum. Bye. Tell Leah said hello for the millennium. Good millennium. See you later, Mum. Bye.
And Jean, what would you say to someone who perhaps does know something out there, knows something about what happened 5 years ago, and is hesitating about whether to call?
I think they shouldn't. I think they should call, because it's never too late. You know, to call, just pick the phone up and make that call.
And what difference would it make to you if someone did that?
It'd make a lot of difference. You know, we'd have to... It's sort of... just bring some meaning to it all, really, you know.
At least to know what happened.
To know, yeah. Just can't understand, you know, why. What if they did know, would it like him to pick the phone up? Like I said, it's only a phone call away, isn't it? You know.
OK, well, please help bring this case to a close for Jean, for Lee and the rest of Gabriel's family. 0500 600 600 or the incident room here in Manchester on 0161 856 4481. And you can also call Crime Stoppers in confidence on 0800 555 111. And now here are Rav and Jackie with the latest on tonight's call so far.
We've had lots of information coming in about the bank robbery in Rusholme, including 2 names for the gunman that was in the van. What we really need is more information about that van. Did you see it on the night of the 16th of December, after it had been driven from Liverpool to Manchester? As for the murder of Shawn Edwards in Gorton, South Manchester, earlier we showed you not only the photo of Shawn, but that of Alfie Blacker. Tell us where he is tonight. Jackie, what have you got?
Well, our faces, as usual, have produced lots of calls, and the first one that we're really interested in is Sabir Hussain. We know that he's driven minicabs in the past, and several people have rung in giving the names of firms they think he's working at, so that's really promising and good leads there. Oliver Trusnak, he was under lots of different names and part of the German royal family, so he was saying. We've had several sightings of him in Soho in London, which is obviously the key area for where we think he may be operating, and also an old work colleague of his has rung in giving their details, so we can get back to him, and there should be some really promising leads there. The studio number's on the screen, and if you're watching in digital satellite TV, you can email us directly through your remote control. Just press the red button on your handset and choose Crimewatch.
Still to come, the friends who split up one night and battered 2 women in the street. Who are they? The Manchester Cold Case Review team are the last chance maybe to catch a child killer 20 years after he thought he got away with it. And who's pinched the parrot? Now, though, a murder. Murder actually happened on Christmas Day. 31-year-old Christopher Mason died following a random, unprovoked attack in Watford. It was in the early hours of Christmas morning. He never regained consciousness. He died a few days later.
As we were walking along, there were some other people up ahead walking in the same direction. Once we'd crossed the traffic lights, we seemed to catch up with these people. Again, we weren't paying a great deal of attention because we were chatting away about our own things. As we drew near to them, the person stood at the back turned round in front of Chris and looked at me for a moment, looked at Chris, smiled, looked like he was about to say Happy Christmas, and then punched Chris very hard in the face. Chris hit the wall and then hit the back of his head as he landed on the pavement as well.
He just got to 30 years old and he'd got a lovely girlfriend and he was maturing and becoming a very caring person. He was a keen cyclist. He never lost his interest in bikes. There were always 2 very expensive bicycles in the hall. We used to moan about these bikes being there every time we opened the door and somebody came in. There was a bike in the way, but I wish they were there now. We were looking forward to a nice Christmas. He's our only child, and he's my mother's only grandson. We stayed with him till the end, and we saw him after he died, and he did look relieved that his ordeal was over. But of course ours wasn't.
D.I. Hanlon is leading the investigation. 3 men walking in front of Christopher and Sarah, only one threw the punch, of course, so the other 2 really are innocent, provided they don't cover up for him.
Absolutely.
And he himself might not know that he killed him.
That's a potential, yes. I mean, it does appear to be a completely unprovoked attack that unfortunately had tragic consequences for Chris.
You've been trawling through CCTV. You've actually got quite a lot that you've managed to piece together from that night.
That's right.
We've got 3 men who are walking down Market Street shortly after the attack. And we've got close-ups of 2 of those guys. There's the man wearing a gold crown, which looks like it came from a Christmas cracker, and the man who ran across the road to join his friends minutes before the attack. and that guy was in the company of the man wearing the gold crown until a few minutes before the attack.
That's right.
Then they're in Harlequin shopping centre. That's earlier the same day.
This is earlier on in the day. The gentleman shown in the shopping centre was also with the persons that were in front of Christopher.
This is seconds before the attack. There's a girl with a mobile phone, then Sarah and Christopher, and here's the girl on the mobile phone again. And it's likely she witnessed the attack, presumably, so it's quite important that she calls you.
Absolutely.
Now, only one of them threw the punch. If the other two come forward, what will happen?
The other two come forward, we'll be treating those as witnesses. If they've had nothing to do with the assault, I would urge them, this is their opportunity to come forward.
The clothing was pretty distinctive, wasn't it?
Yes, we've seen the man in the gold hat. We've also seen the man in the Harlequin Centre earlier on in the day. Both of them had tracksuits that were identical, and this is a tracksuit that's exactly the same.
Adidas, so they've got black stripes. I don't usually see white stripes on those.
On the CCTV, it shows up as one solid silver stripe down the arm, but it's actually the usual Adidas 3 stripes that's down the arm. So I'd urge anybody that knows people that were out Christmas Eve in a crowd together where 2 of them were dressed, or at least 2 people dressed wearing similar tracksuits to this, to phone up and give us their details.
They'd spent several hours in Watford town centre. You can gather that from the CCTV.
Certainly from the CCTV. We know they've been there for the duration of the evening, yes.
Now, if the guy who threw the punch himself comes forward and says, hey, it was Christmas Eve, something got out of control, I hit the guy. I mean, I had no intention of doing this.
Obviously, that would be dealt with on its merits, and we would urge him to come forward if he has seen this programme.
OK, well, if it was you, for heaven's sake, come forward yourself before somebody else shops you. If you were the 2 with him, get yourself out of trouble at least. And for heaven's sake, put the family at rest for this horrible thing that's happened. Remember, it was an only child. It was a senseless murder. Help find who did it. 0500 600 600. Or you can call the incident room in Watford itself. That's on 01 923 472 929.
This is possibly one of the most remarkable stories we've ever told. Often we appeal about men who've committed violent assaults. But only once before have we come across this. 2 men setting out together to find women to beat up or murder. Can't stress too much the importance of finding them tonight.
I was stood outside working, and 2 men was walking up the street.
How much does it cost?
50 quid. I'm not doing it with the 2 of you.
See you later, then.
I told them the prices, and we arranged business.
I'll be about half an hour.
He kept going on about the police. He was scared about the police. So I took him to a place which is pretty secluded, but it wasn't secluded enough for him. He wanted to go further on, where it was right out of the way, up some steps.
I want to do it here.
All right.
I went on to have business, have sex.
Will you kiss me?
No, I don't do none of that.
You bitch!
After a few minutes, he just started punching me in full force in the face. I was trying to scream, but it wouldn't come out. And I really thought he was going to beat me unconscious because he was just smashed my head off the floor.
This is what you deserve, you bitch! Go on, take it! Take it!
Your money! You leave me alone!
In the end, he just stopped. He just stopped for no reason.
Leave me alone!
The 2 men had last been seen together at about 9:30.
I'm not doing it with the 2 of you.
See you later, then.
There are cameras in George Place where the second man walked off. They're infrared to see in the dark, so the bag he's carrying looks black. It could be any colour, perhaps a takeaway. At any rate, he hadn't got a bag when he was next seen in Stonehouse Street, where he approached 22-year-old Harriet Truman.
Are you working tonight?
Yeah, I am. You interested?
This was Harriet's first time out on the street.
I want people to think you're my girlfriend, so let me put my arm around you, yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Well, Harriet was quite a bubbly child, very bright. In fact, her IQ level's amazing. Harriet's mother got killed in a car crash 3 years ago. And that happened 2 days before Harriet's 21st birthday. The shock from it was just, well, devastating. And that's when it all started to go wrong for her. unfortunately. She got in with the wrong crowd, started experimenting with drugs and stuff. And one thing led to another, and she was on the hard stuff.
Another camera picked up Harriet walking down Durnford Street just before 10 p.m.
If you wait here, I'll just get some money off of me.
All right then. He tried going to his friend's house to see if he'd be in. He wasn't, so I phoned him on his mobile.
The friend is absolutely critical to this inquiry.
There was no answer. I'll have to make a call, yeah?
Still saying he was going to get some money, he steered Harriet towards Devil's Point.
2 girls came over to him, and I think they knew him quite well because they were talking about the last time they got out together. And at least one of them was blonde.
Hi, all right? The other night was a really good night.
It's vital these 2 girls call in tonight. Then a car drew up. We don't know its make, but the driver handed over some cash. And then drove off. By 10:30, he'd taken Harriet to the public toilets on Admiralty Road.
I think so.
I want you to stand there.
Here. What are you doing? Please, get off of me! Ah! Ah!
Shut up!
Oh my God. It's a girl, officer. I think she's been attacked. Okay.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
When Harriet was brought into hospital, she was in a coma. Her condition was immediately life-threatening. The combination of a serious head injury and a chest injury, she had a punctured lung, is a very serious combination that is often fatal. She was on intensive care with us for nearly a week before then moving to our high dependency unit. And then Harriet was in with us for about another 3 weeks in the acute neurosurgical ward before she started following commands.
The thing that haunts me most of all is when she looked round at me and she said, "Dad," she said, "when's Mum coming in to see me?" Totally forgotten that her mother died in a car crash.
Harriet's got physical problems, and they include difficulties walking, which is slow and laboured, and great difficulty using her left arm. We would anticipate recovery occurring over the next 18 months to 2 years, but even at that stage, she will probably be left with some degree of physical disability, or it may be psychological disability.
I've forgotten quite a lot, and I used to play guitar, I can't remember how to now. I'm 23 now, and I can't talk properly yet. I'm slowed down a lot. My voice is a lot deeper than it used to be. Having a few problems with my memory. I just hope the police catch him soon. I'm just scared they'll do it again. Next person might not be as lucky as me.
Yeah, Dave Huggett is leading the inquiry. And Dave, you see how terribly damaged Harriet is by that attack. She's lucky to be alive. I mean, extraordinary that 2 men should do this, to set out together to either beat up or murder 2 women.
Yeah, whilst we can't say with an absolute certainty that the 2 men were together, all the work and all the evidence that we have to date draws us to that conclusion. And it does seem absolutely strange that 2 men would go out and do that. One can only speculate to what their motives could be.
What can you tell us about the man who attacked Harriet?
The man who attacked Harriet is a white man. He's 6 foot tall. He's aged between his late 20s to his late 45. He's a medium to heavy build, and he's balding on top with thick hair around the sides and the back of his head. On the evening in question, he was wearing a sports-type jacket with a logo on either side of the chest, and there's a line of piping which runs down the back of the jacket and down the arms.
Now, it looks as if, certainly judging from that reconstruction, as if he may be local. He certainly has local knowledge, doesn't he? Because there's those two girls who walked past him obviously knew him.
Absolutely. The evidence that we've gained from our witnesses and the areas that he's taken Harriet to...
Oh, took her to Devil's Point, didn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. Demonstrates that he's got a local knowledge. This confrontation, or this meeting he's had with the two girls, also demonstrates that he is a local man to the area.
Now, they're key witnesses, those two girls. Have they come forward?
Those girls haven't come forward, and we're absolutely really keen to try and trace them this evening. I
suppose it's possible, isn't it, that they won't know that they were witnesses to anything sinister going on because he had his arm around her because he wanted her to appear as if she were his girlfriend, so they may think nothing of what they saw.
I think that is absolutely the case. They didn't connect the fact that this chap that they appear to know was with Harriet on that occasion and has then actually gone on to do this horrible attack.
So it's absolutely crucial they come forward. And
yes,
then what about the chap in the car who, because of course our attacker always appeared at any rate trying to get money to pay Harriet, and then
yes.
This man turns up and appears to have handed some money over.
Yes, it does. This man, the attacker on Harriet, has clearly made a phone call, and as a result of that phone call, a man has come down to Devil's Point in his car and has handed over money. Now, that man may well not realise exactly what was going to go on and may not have connected
so
that again.
So you need to hear from him tonight as well?
Absolutely, yes.
What about the man who attacked Sarah, the first case we saw then in reconstruction? What can you tell us about him?
The man that attacked Sarah, he is, again, he's about 35 to 40 years old. He's of medium build to stocky build. He has a pierced tongue, which is something that's quite
unusual, certainly.
Unusual,
so
yes.
that's a brilliant clue. So we need to put those two men together, don't we? The
yes,
man with
the
pierced tongue and
yes.
the man who attacked Harriet there. I mean, it's not the easiest kind of environment to get people to come forward, is it? You're talking about, you know, prostitutes, working girls, the men who use prostitutes. I mean, what would you say to them to encourage them to come forward?
Yeah, I would say to those people, I can fully understand their reluctance to come forward, in particular the men that use working girls. However, I can assure them that we would treat their calls with the strictest confidence, and it's vital that someone contacts us so that we can catch this man and prevent a further attack.
Because you're not interested in what they're doing there, you just want the information, don't you?
That's all we want, is the information to try and identify these key men.
Well, help Dave and his colleagues to catch these two men before they kill someone. They nearly killed Harriet there, or certainly one of them did. Call us here in the studio on 0500 600 600 or the incident room in Plymouth on 01752 720 512. And if you've been the victim of crime, you'd like to talk to someone, call the victim support line. That's on 0845 30 30 900. And now here's DC Jackie Haynes.
Now some villains caught in the act tell us their names, and even better, where we can lay our hands on them tonight. First to Liverpool and armed robbery at a petrol station. This security guard is collecting cash when two men attack him. One of them is armed with a sledgehammer. The guard bravely puts up a fight and grabs the weapon. But the men set off a fire extinguisher to disorientate him and get hold of the cash box. After failing to open it on the forecourt, they escape empty-handed. Their getaway car is a green Vauxhall Vectra with the registration T958BFV. Who are they? Northumbria now, and deception at the Lloyds TSB in Ashington. This woman is using two cloned credit cards and a stolen driving licence to obtain cash from someone else's account. 3 days later, she's at another branch of the bank in nearby Pontyland, but this time she's unsuccessful after watchful staff get suspicious. Who is she? Another deception, this time in Weybridge, Surrey. This man is using a credit card stolen earlier that day to obtain cash. He manages to withdraw £1,500 from someone else's account. Can you name him? Finally, to Oxford and a jewellery theft from a branch of H. Samuel. A man and a woman go into the shop and, after much milling about, eventually manage to open a display cabinet and help themselves to a tray of 12 diamond rings, worth a total of £14,000. Tell us who they are. Don't let them get away with it. 0500 600 600 if you can help.
If you're in the Soho area of London 2 weeks before Christmas, you could help catch a sex attacker. On Saturday the 11th of December, a woman in her 20s visited Soho with a friend. They went to the Click Club in Wardour Street and met a man who called himself Shawn. In the early hours of Sunday morning, the victim left the club with the man. He took her to a grassy area near Wardour Street and sexually assaulted her. The attacker was a light-skinned black man dressed in all white clothing. White trousers, a white sleeveless padded jacket, a white long-sleeve T-shirt with a white short-sleeve one underneath. There were 4 or 5 men in the club with him. Cool if you were one of them. After the attack, the victim stopped a black cab in a nearby road. The driver was suspicious and drove off. She then flagged down another vehicle directly behind the taxi, which was driven by an Asian man. He drove the woman to her hotel and stayed with her until she was able to get into her room. This Good Samaritan was called Sam, and he had a small black dog with him called Stitch. We urgently need Sam and the taxi driver to get in touch. If you are in the Wardour Street area that weekend and any of these descriptions ring a bell, please call 0500 600 600 or the incident room in St John's Wood on 0207 321 9709.
As we've been saying tonight, we're coming live from Manchester, and 4 months ago, Greater Manchester Police set up a cold case review unit. A team of detectives are going back over unsolved cases. One of those cases is still really fresh in the minds of officers because they were on the case at the time, 20 years ago. It was the murder of a 14-year-old, an only child from Lee. And it's a crime, they say, that not only deserves to be reopened, it demands it.
Police have launched a murder inquiry after the body of 14-year-old Lisa Hession was found in an alley near her home in Lee, near Manchester.
I think I'd been shopping, came home. We had an early tea, I knew not, because she wanted to get ready for this party. And she went out of here about, I would say about 6:45 at night. Quite happy with me because I let her go out just that little bit earlier. So she went out with a smile on her face, so.
Jeff Arnold is head of the cold case review team. But this case never did go cold for him. He worked on the original inquiry. He was summoned here to this alley when Lisa was found.
She was coming home here. She lives about 500 metres just round the corner. She arrived here, and this is the position that we think she was attacked. She was attacked here and taken down this alleyway.
She always had to be in for 9 o'clock, but on this particular night, obviously, I said yes, she could stay out that little bit longer. So when she didn't arrive home, I got dressed and went out to look for her. So I went right up to the top of Lee Bridge. I couldn't see her there. I thought, well, she must be on. I must have missed her. Perhaps I've gone one way, she's come another. When I got back and she still wasn't here, I waited another quarter of an hour and then I phoned the police.
This is pretty much how I remembered it 20 years ago. I was a young DC at the time. And not much has changed. As you can see, it's a built-up residential area. This is the location that Lisa's body was discovered. She was discovered by a local man on the night. As I recall it, there was actually a recess here that gave access to a garage door. I think one of the sad parts about the event is that Lisa's mother, Christine, would have walked past this location at the end of the alleyway, very close to where the body lay, and she'd have done that a number of times on the night.
So that was one of the things that really hurt, because I don't know whether I could have been any help or not, but you never know, do you? It's no use saying if only, because it doesn't work like that. Life's not like that, is it?
Did you live near Rugby Road some 20 years ago? Do you recall anyone behaving strangely that December weekend? Or has anyone ever said anything that aroused your suspicion?
It's always there at the back of your mind, knowing that nobody's paying for what's happened to your child. They may be married or have children of their own and living a good life. I don't know. But they've not paid for what they've done, have they? And if no one comes forward, they never will. I'm pleased that they're opening the investigation now. A little bit apprehensive, but hoping that something positive will come from it. I mean, I know it's a long time and people do forget, but I'm hoping that someone out there knows something more and they will come forward.
Well, could that be you? Lisa, as I said, was Christine's only child, and she's lived with the agony of not knowing for all this time. Help put this to rest, please. 0500 600 600 or the incident room on 0161 856 5961.
It's 5 to 10. You've got 5 more minutes to keep those calls coming in, though the phones, of course, are open till midnight. Now, this is Rude, and he's an African grey parrot. He's worth about £600, and dozens of these parrots are stolen every year. If you have one as a pet, though, and say it's not the money you care about, it's the loss of a much-loved family member. And Terry McLaughlin, you know what's that like. Your parrot, Pepe, was stolen. Tell us what happened.
That's right. Well, we came home just before Christmas in November, and on a Sunday, and my grandson was in the house before us, and he noticed that the bird had gone missing, right? And nothing else was taken. Whoever came for the bird just walked in for the bird, took the bird, and knew where they were going and whatever, right? But
that was it. They knew they wanted Pepe, and they came to take him. And he had some very distinctive things about him, Pepe, didn't he? He used to imitate the sound that his owner used to make, his previous owner made when he was breathing.
His previous owner's dad had emphysema, and when he used to fall asleep in the chair, he used to make rather funny noises with his chest, whatever, right? When we got the parrot first, we thought he was very ill, because he used to come out with these noises and coughing and spluttering, whatever, right? And then we realised when we rang the owner that she said that was Pepe imitating her dad
so
before
he was just copying all those sounds?
Passed everything. Cats, dogs, anything, right?
And what were the particularly distinctive words that he uses, if people can recognise that?
He used to call, where's Terry, where's Elaine? And he used to call my dog Kaya and whistle at her to come in for food. And before he used to go to bed at night, when you turn the telly off, as soon as that telly went off, he used to go, "Good night, pet. Bye-bye, Bobo, good night." And he'd walk across his armchair and go into his cage, and that was it. But he had loads and loads of words, taking off car alarms, smoke alarms, anything at all, wild birds, anything, he could take it off.
He could do it all.
But he had the whole repertoire, right?
OK, well, if you think you can help, call the incident room on 0208 247 4945. Remember to focus on the distinctive things that Terry was saying that Pepe does and the sounds that he imitates. You know, there are precautions you can take against the theft of your pet. If you go to our website at bbc.co.uk/crime, you'll find full contact details for the Parrot Society's Pet Theft Register. And you can also see a reminder of some of tonight's cases and crime prevention advice there.
Well, we really have had a number of very encouraging calls, especially about that murder of Shawn Edwards. Now, police need to speak to Alfie Blacker. Lots of people have given us possible sightings and addresses for him, but it really is a lot of information for us to get through tonight. Remember, he's a Celtic fan. He could well be drinking in those Celtic supporters' bars or going to the games. Keep your eyes out for him. Nick.
Well, I can tell you, we've had some quite interesting calls on the Rusholme bank robbery, and the kidnap happened about 8 days before Christmas, and the detectives behind me are really rather interested in calls that we've got there. They tell me they've got 3 good lines of inquiry. I think they're holding things close to their chest on that. And on the murder of Gabriel Agaba in Longside here in Manchester, that was a case of mistaken identity, we think. There's a chap, remember, who was shot by a guy going past, the pillion passenger on a motorbike. 2 people have rung in with the same name. That's being followed up right now. All the incident room numbers are on CFAX on page 621. Our phone lines, they're open until midnight tonight, and they're open again tomorrow from 7:30 a.m. until midnight.
Now, there was no Crime Watch in January, so we're making up for it this month because there'll be another programme in 3 weeks' time on Wednesday, the 23rd of February.
We'll be back in 35 minutes with Crime Watch Update. If you can't join us then, remember the sort of major crimes we feature really are, they're very rare, so don't have nightmares. Do please sleep well. Good night.
Good night.